Hi guys, welcome back to another installment on our mystery build. Uh, we're not going to divulge too much about it today, although you may get a little hint to where I'm going with this module with what we're going to do today. As you see in the title, we're going to be making trees. And there are as many ways to make trees as there are trees. I've heard that said, and honestly, there's truth in it. Okay. Um, what I'm going to show you today is a method that I saw, had to be 2, 3 years ago at least, um, on a YouTube channel. I'm not even sure where that was, to be honest. I gotta get this out of the way. I didn't even notice that when I started recording. That's the way it goes. Anyway, little housekeeping note. At the time of release of this, I will be at the Altoona N-Scale weekend. Hoping, fingers crossed, that I have everything in place to be able to do a live feed from down there. So, like I said, so far I have met at least one or two of YouTube's prerequisites for doing a live feed. I thank everybody for joining and subscribing. If you're watching this and just a recent subscriber, thank you very much. So I know I've met that minimum, and I want to give a big shout out to the guys who I personally deal with and belong to their group on Facebook, Iron City N Scalers. Check them out if you're in scale and you haven't seen them. All you gotta do is sign up, and you're one of the guys, okay? And you have all the privileges of getting in on group chats, listening, and they got great podcasts too. Um, Check them out sometime. They're all over the place. If you have any questions or comments, want to know where to get a hold of them, leave it down below, and I will. I always check my comments every week to see what's going on every channel or every video, I should say, that I release. So with that being said, let's get today's build. Okay, so what we're going to do is, like I said initially, we're going to make trees. So you only need a few tools for this, okay? So what I have is a pair of I have needle nose pliers. You can use, like I can use this as well, which I'm going to use. Um, but either one or both or mixed like I have today will work. As I've been showing in my hand, we have, oops, put it on this side. This is just floral wire, okay? I picked this up at a dollar store several years ago. I made, probably 10 or 15 trees with it so far, and haven't really made a dent on it. And most of them are larger HO scale trees, so that gives you an indication of how much you can really get out of them. Also, and this is an optional thing, depending on what kind of a tree you're going to make. Let me move myself over here. Okay. We have this floral tape, and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do with that. I won't need this for the build that I'm going to do for this particular module, because I want to show you, well, no, I'll show you at the end. I was going to show you what the end product could look like, but let's hold off on that and save that towards the end. So we're going to take our floral tape here. I'm just going to unwind it some. We'll start with that much. And then I have a scale ruler here. And so you have to look at where it's at. Now you can pick this up. Most online retailers will have this. And You can probably even find it on eBay or Amazon. Well, of course, that's online retail, but I'm talking online hobby shops. Or you can even try and see if you have a local hobby shop. I unfortunately don't, that's nearby. So I bought this several years ago. Couldn't even tell you where. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, first of all, unfortunately, because getting old here, I'm going to put on my cheaters so I can see this much better. Ordinarily, I would use my magnifier, which is providing the light for this, but you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing because it'll block out the camera because of the angle I have to do stuff. So anyway. So I have these trees are obviously going to be an N scale. So show the camera. You probably can't see that. Okay, so that's fine. We can't see that. But there are several gauges on this thing. Okay, so here's N gauge on this side. There's millimeters up on this side. If you want to go in 64ths of an inch, that's over here. Little conversion scale for you. Then on the opposite side is the ruler is for O scale, and on the flip side down here is HO scale. When I bought this, it was mostly to do HO scale stuff. Okay, so this breaks it down in number of feet, and you have 87 feet. Well, let's see, that goes 80. Yeah, see, it shows 86, but you got down on this end, it breaks 1 foot down into inches. Okay, so you have a total of 87 feet on this, which is HO scale for 1 foot. This is a 1 foot long ruler, essentially. Okay. And the same with the O gauge stuff. If you have 47 feet on here, plus then you have the little thing where it breaks it down, a foot breaks down, so 48 feet. So on the N scale, though, it's different because they only go up to 80 feet. Okay, so and then like I said, the other half is these millimeters and the 64, which we went over. So what I'm going to do, I have to think, how big a tree do I want? And you can do this with either side. If you're doing HO scale, you're doing O scale. Okay, this works for any tree. If you're doing G scale, you're SOL. Sorry. Maybe just take the O scale thing and double it. Okay, so you have to measure it twice. Cut once, measure twice. Not the same kind of thing. No. So anyway, let me get back on track here. Catch the railroad reference there. Anyway, so let's say your normal tree, we'll say 25, 30 feet tall, give or take. But you're also going to be doing for branches and possibly for a root system. I'll explain. So you've got your branch, you're going to be doing both things at the same time. Now, the root system is an optional thing. You don't necessarily have to do a root system. Meaning, if you're looking at a tree, and like even trees in my own backyard, sometimes I'll see roots sticking up. It's because actually the neighbor's trees, but they're so close to the property line, the roots come up over on my side. Not a lot, but some. Some are worse. Some trees will be worse than others. I mean, you take a walk in the woods, you'll see that, right? Or even, anywhere walking down the street, somebody's yard, whatever, you'll see sometimes there's roots that pop up out of the ground and just, do a nosedive back in. Some were just like dead end somewhere out there. So what you want to do is you're either going to replicate the roots or you're not. And they're not necessary. Okay, some people just like, I'm going to plant the tree and call it a day, and that's fine. But you have to account for the length in your wire, whether you're going to do roots or not roots. Now the branches you're definitely going to have to do. And depending on how long those branches are, that will determine and how extensive it is. That will determine how long you're going to be doing with your ruler here. So let's say we want a 30-foot tree. Well, okay, so a 30-foot tree is right here. Okay, you can't really see that too well, but it's right here. So that's so from the end, okay, to here, that's a 30-foot tree. So I'm going to go an extra 5 feet to account for my roots and a little bit extra for the branches. So I'm going to just move it up to 35, okay, overall. So now I have my basic length. Okay, so here is my basic length of wire. What I'm going to do now is real easy. So I'm going to bend it to about mark, so it's close to where I was, okay? And we're going to do several lengths like this. I can find the end, and don't have to be perfect. I mean, you could make it as perfect as you want, but let's be honest, okay? This is nature. And nature is nowhere near perfect. As much as we would like to think so sometimes, it's not. So what I'm just doing, and I'm going to get more length of wire here. I need some. It's just unroll that, unroll it. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, it's early, and for me anyway. We're just going to keep bending it back and forth here several times, and how many of these you do is going to depend on how thick a trunk you're going to make. So, and you got to take into account, get a little more wire here, the thickness of this wire, which isn't a lot, but you're also trying to account for the scale that you're working in too. Okay, so that's a pretty good amount. So what I'm going to do is take my handy dandy wire cutters, and hopefully these work today. Hey, we got it. Okay. So we're done with this part. No more, no mas, done. I'm going to set it aside. So now we got this wire. It's all bent, and you got a couple ends here and all these loops. This is where you have to decide, do I want a root system or not? Now, if I do not want a root system, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to just start by doing this one end. It doesn't matter which end you pick. I'm going to hang on to it with these, hopefully. Let me get, and just start twisting them. Okay, I had to get a little bit of a start there. All right, so then I'm just going to take this and just twist it. Okay, so that's all we're going to do. And this is actually going to be a pretty nice tree. At least I hope so when we're done. And these wires will, don't always want to work exactly right, but just keep twisting it the same way till you get as far as you really want to go, as far as a okay, there we go. That's pretty safe. So now I'm going to designate this end is going to be, I'm going to say that's going to be the roots. Okay, because we twisted it down pretty far. So what I'm going to do, now if I didn't want roots, okay, I would just go clear to the end as far as I could possibly go, and then find a spot, like take this and I'm going to measure this. And you can do this. See, now I've twisted this down, okay, and just by twisting it, you can't really see it because, like I said, the camera angle is not that great, but you can see this is already twisted down from that 35-foot mark that we had initially. I've already lost 5 feet. So just by twisting it this far. Now what you could do, let's just say you don't want a root system on this, but obviously you do want the branches. Take one end that's already pretty tight, like this end is pretty tight. So I think what I'll do is this will be the root. This is going to be my root end. So this end is pretty tight. I would look and see, okay, so if I want a tree, if I don't go with, like, if I cut this off, okay, with my wire cutters, if I measure that in there, now it comes down to 20. Okay, so I lost 5 feet right there just by doing that. So that's what's going to wind up happening. This is going to become a 20-foot tree, which isn't bad. So you figure you're going to lose 5 to 10, maybe 15 in this case, feet if I do a root system, which I'm planning on doing. So what I'm going to do is take this wire cutters, and these aren't the greatest. I've been meaning to get another pair and I just don't get around to it. So I'm hoping that these cut like I would like them to. Okay, let's see, did that cut? No, it did not. Of course not. Oh, that one did, but this one didn't. Okay. Let's see. No, you still didn't cut. And where you cut it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can try to always cut it on the very end. There we go. Now we got that one. But it doesn't, like I said, doesn't really matter because, once again, we're talking about nature. Unless you're, got a bad case of OCD and I need to have it perfect every time, then it's not going to matter to you either. Okay, so we're going to do this, and just move these out of my way so that I can see what I have to cut yet. We got this one here, and then this guy back in here. I can see him, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, so here's all our branches that we're going to have. Okay, and this is going to go on my module. You'll see this on there once it's complete. And like I said, when we get to the end of this video, I'm going to show you completed model. So that's basically, I can show it here. That's what it's going. That's what it's going to look like. Okay. Once you cut the ends, and you just, I mean, you can do. I've done one where you just measure, cut, and then just group them together, and then you save yourself that step. Okay, in the of cutting, you're still going to cut it either way. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Pick your poison. Doesn't matter. So anyway, on this I do want a root system. Now why I'm doing that is it's a spooky tree. Okay, and like I said, you'll see that in just a bit. But what we're going to do is the same thing, just on the opposite end, and we're going to cut through these. Yeah, this is an old pair of wire cutters, so if I had listened and bought myself, like I was going to, a newer pair, which I probably will here shortly, because I got several more of these to do for this project and others to come. Alright, so I've done the same thing, as you can see. Just snipped them, and now here's the thing. You can make these as elaborate or as simple as you want. And all this is just bending these out into something that vaguely resembles a root system. Because once you get it to your layout, you're going to be, figuring it out. Okay, so there's what we've done so far. Okay, so this is going to be the branches, this is the root. Now, like I say, you can trim these back, make them any length that you want. It doesn't matter. It's your layout, right? We've said that many times. So it's however you want to do it. Now, the ones that I've done 2 already, and I'm very happy with how they turned out. Anything else? It doesn't need anything else really. I might touch it up with a little bit of paint, give it a little bit, a little bit more of a tint of something. But as far as I'm concerned, they're pretty good, and they're going to go straight on the module. Okay. Now, if you're doing a tree, let me see if I got my stuff. Yep. Okay. I thought I had this handy. I had to grab my bag of stuff. Now, you can, if you're going to make a tree, a normal tree, okay, that you would go and, just see in the woods. Now, this is being my spooky tree, and you can try this yourself otherwise. This is going to get spray painted black, okay, just because of how this module is set up. Black will work the best. Maybe with some brown highlights, but mostly black. A normal tree, go out and look for whatever you're trying to model. If you're trying to model just say, oh, well, brown's good enough for me. Pick the color of brown that you like. The easiest way is to spray paint it. I would do, if you're going to do it correctly, spray paint it with a base coat of gray, a gray primer. Almost any brand is going to work as long as it says primer on it. And then let it dry thoroughly. Give it at a minimum 3 or 4 hours, but overnight is better. And then come back to it and then hit it with whatever color it is you're going to use. But what I would do with this, okay, now here's another option, okay, on your trunk here especially. Now I've also done the branches, but these are obviously not going to need it. But I've done HO scale ones, or I've done the roots and the branches just to make them stand out a little bit better. This is your floral tape. Now all you do with this floral tape is you pull it out, cut a length of it, and then come down here, start at the base of your tree, and just wrap it around, okay? And so if you don't like the look of the wire, okay, and the way it sits now, I mean, you can be the judge of that if you think that's acceptable. If it's in the background, okay, I would say it's acceptable. If it's in your foreground and it's a fruit, like a one that uses, it's going to be green, with leaves and blah blah blah. I would use the floral tape as a personal preference. But then, okay, so you got this. Let's say we've wrapped this. Okay, just the trunk. We've wrapped the trunk up really nice, And if you want to, like on your branches, like this, I can make thicker branches just by taking a couple of these and then twist them together. Okay, so you want to, if you only want a few branches but you want them thicker, twist them near the top, and then so you'll have, you have to plan this ahead, and figure out, well, I want X number of branches, so I got to double that for the length of wire that I have because I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to twist them. Some are going to be more. So if you have triple, okay, so now you have to have 3 times as many. So how many actual branches at the top you have is going to vary. But in this case, let's just say, I twist these wires up, and I don't know how many are here. There's several. I twist them and I make them into like 4 or 5 branches, main branches. So what I would do then is I would come in, and this is just like a clump foliage, and then I would just on the branches itself, like these were all twisted together, I would go and just apply some glue. Now you can do like a spray glue, or if you're careful enough, you can use a super glue. Pick your poison, as far as there's numerous brands out there for super glue. I've used Gorilla and Loctite. I like them both. Or you can find the original super glue if it's still out there. But anyway, I've heard hairspray. I don't use hairspray, obviously, so I don't have any around. But anyway, that's what I would say do is my first choice would be a spray glue, because what you can do then is you just hold it out there, let's something like that, and you just hit it with the spray glue, just right on the very top. You've already got it. Let's say you've already got it. You wrapped it up in your floral tape. You painted it. It looks beautiful. You got your branches done. They look beautiful. So then you're just gonna, like I said, take it, hold it, hit it with that spray adhesive, whatever, and then come back at it and just throw your foliage on. In some way. It's hard to show this way. And and that's what it'll be. And that's really, honestly, all there is to this. So we've spent, between me BSing and actually doing this and talking while I'm doing this, it took me a whopping 25 minutes, okay, to measure this out, cut it, and have it ready for either putting tape on, or I'm ready to go out and spray paint this baby up. And then once it's dry, and if you do a batch of these, say, oh, I'm going to be here in the morning, so I'm going to just sit down and I'm just going to make trees, just like this, and get them ready. You could probably spray paint half a dozen or more, in a few hours or a couple hours, depending on how fast you do it and how involved it gets. If you're not doing a root system, it'll go even faster, because all you got to do, you're not even cutting this end, so you eliminated half the work for making a tree. And not every tree needs a root system. I mean, you go buy these pre-made trees, especially those Chinese import things, like you get it on eBay or on Amazon, or I don't know if Etsy has them too. Maybe they do. I don't know. Or Temu, probably. Temu still sells stuff like that. They're not going to come with a root system. All you're going to do is drill a hole, pop that baby in, and you're done. You'll never see a root system. So your homemade trees, it's your choice. I mean, I'm doing this for the spooky effect, but you really don't need it. So that's going to be user preference, let's say. So with that said, that is it for our video for today. Like, share, subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you. You've helped this channel out immensely. And like I said, big shout out to the Iron City guys. And if you're in the area on, when is it? September 20th and 21st of 2025. Be sure to look for me. I will be with the Iron City guys the whole weekend. The hours are 9 to 5 on Saturday and 9 to 3 on Sunday. And I will be running, I have 2 trains to run. I have my GS4 for the Southern Pacific with a rather long passenger train. Or I'll be running my Broadway Limited Big Boy with the UP passenger set. So, with that said, I hope to see you in Altoona. If not, I will see you in our next video. And you guys have a great week. Take care.